So I wanted to open up with a little a repeat or a paraphrase of some of our previous discussions with Dr. Peat, both in July and in May. So U.S. Vice President Joe Biden addresses the session Cancer Moonshot, a call to action, during the annual meeting of the World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland, January the 19th, 2016. Biden, whose son Beau died last year at the age of 46 from brain cancer, has helped fuel Biden's sense of urgency about the project, which was first announced by President Barack Obama in his State of the Union address in January. In July's program, we discussed your newsletter, Dr. Peat, entitled 100 Years of Cancer Metabolism, which outlined the stark contrast between the objective and scientific inquiry-based approach to disease, exemplified by early 20th century biologists like Otto Warburg, Albert St. Georgi, William F. Koch, and the mechanistic cancercidal approaches of the multi-billion-dollar cancer industry, which has failed spectacularly to find a cure for cancer and whose funding continues to grow disproportionate to any other industry, whose ability to prove good on their research funding would normally cause their exit from the marketplace. It is more a matter of continuing the war and the money generated in cancer's feared diagnosis which perpetuates the industry. Cures are really not very profitable nor self-perpetuating. Thus, misled strategies to conquer cancer prevail against the truly objective and scientific discourses of yesteryear, with the emergence of globalistic monopolies with different objectives to truly curing anything but continuing to play both sides of the war, not unlike real wars are waged by corrupt governments and corrupt politicians alike. The free radical theory of aging was conceived by Denham Harman in the 50s when prevailing scientific opinion held that free radicals were too unstable to exist in biological systems. Two sources inspired Harman. One was the rate of living theory, which holds that the lifespan is an inverse function of metabolic rate, which in turn is proportional to oxygen consumption, and to Rebecca Gershman's observation that hyperbaric oxygen toxicity and radiation toxicity could be explained by the same underlying phenomena, i.e. oxygen free radicals. Now, Harman's hypothesis has been seriously challenged by recent studies showing that reactive oxygen species actually evoke metabolic health and longevity. And as for Rebecca Gershman's observation, it's interesting that Joseph Priestley, the English chemist who discovered oxygen in 1774, had questioned whether the gas, which is so essential to life, might also in some way be harmful. Modern research has revealed that oxygen is actually a very toxic material and that the body has a number of antioxidant defense systems that act continuously to keep tissue oxygen levels from getting too high. One of the built-in systems that accomplishes this is the enzyme superoxide dismutase discovered by Erwin Fridovich and Joe McCord in 1967. It begets the question why the neurosis in the ICU of most hospitals, if your oxygen saturation is lower than 97%, they poison you with pure oxygen when it's common knowledge that increased CO2 is protective. Like the previous show in May, where Dr. Peat's newsletter explained and explored the societal paranoia versus trustanoia, referring to the governments working for our benefit to keep us safe from disease, etc. Dr. Peat displayed evidence contrary to this related to cancer therapies ignoring objective science, but rather acquiescing to rank order within academia. And now, Dr. Peat, you've uncovered research which shows a different perspective to our previous understanding of antioxidants and how they should actually be referred to as pro-oxidants and how that affects the organism. So thank you so much for joining us again, Dr. Peat.
Yeah, hi.
For those people, as always, who may have not listened to our show, would you outline your academic and professional background for those people listening? I appreciate that.
My biology study was at the University of Oregon, 1968 to 72, where I worked on my thesis on reproductive aging and the oxidative metabolic changes that are involved in aging. And at that time, I was really just bringing together information on oxidative metabolism that had been developed over the preceding 50 years And I thought the situation was ripe for sort of a conclusion. I, at the time, couldn't have imagined that 45 years later it would have gone backward to the 1890 situation of the government pushing a purely genetic causation of cancer and other diseases.